Okay, on this technique I was asked to show you how to dry brush. Now there are a couple of ways that you can dry brush. One is with a dry brush and one is with a damp brush. I call dry brushing with a damp brush dry brushing. I call dry rubbing with a dry brush dry rubbing. So I will be dry rubbing, or as some of you call it, dry brushing, with this brush right here. I have already painted this design. It's already been varnished, so if I don't like what I do, I can take it off. Earlier I did a glaze of Deco Art Fluid acrylic on here to brighten it up, and now I want to brighten up my highlights just a little bit. So I'm going to take this brush dry and load some white paint in it. I prefer these Mezzaluna brushes for dry rubbing or dry brushing, if that's what you prefer to call it. I learned it 2 different ways, so I like to clarify which way I'm doing. Dry brush is dry rubbing. Damp brush is dry brushing. Dry rubbing, dry brushing. So many teachers out there teach it the way that they do it. This is the way that I do it. Feel free to call it whatever you want. I make no judgment. I do not say you're doing it wrong. I just want to clarify for when I speak that you know what I'm talking about. Right now I am dry rubbing. So I'm going to very gently, I'm going to remove a little bit more of the paint off of here, go over my highlights, which I feel went down just a little bit, and I want to do it just in the centers of them if I can. And this is just very easy brushing. And then I want to brighten up a little bit on these areas here. Hopefully I'm in the right area because I have a glare on where I'm looking, so hopefully you're seeing I'm putting it in the right place because I can't see very well with the glare that I've got. So I'm just going to dry rub over these areas right on top of my varnish. Like I said, if I don't like it, I can very easily remove it with a baby wipe. So I'm going to have to tilt it up because I can't see what area is what. A little bit on that one. And this is how you can create those kind of folded areas. I could also dry rub onto this leaf and get a little bit brighter on the edge. And this one. This set of brushes comes in several sizes, and I like that about them because, you know, if you need one that fits in a smaller area, then you can get it in a smaller area. But I'm just gently doing this, and this is how you're going to create those highs and lows on a flower like this, because it has a lot of movement in it. So this is dry rubbing, and you can see I just did it right on top of my canvas even though it's varnished. So now when it dries, I can come back and apply another coat of varnish and have what I have done on top of this set into my canvas, and I won't be able to wipe it off then. Okay, the other technique is called, for me, what I call it, but you can call it whatever makes sense to you. This is what I call dry brushing, and it is what I have done on the background here. I'm not going to apply any paint to it, but I'm going to tell you how I did it. So I load a damp brush with whatever color I'm going to be using. Say it's going to be white. I just load that brush with some white. Okay, then I remove a little bit of it off of my brush just by laying the brush flat and letting it take off like the excess that's on the outside of the brush. And then you're just going to come in and drag that brush over your surface and let it just, whatever comes off of your brush and stays on the surface, this has already been varnished as well, whatever comes off of your brush and stays on the surface, is what I call dry brushing, okay? And you can do it in many ways. You can do it on the edge of petals of flowers. I'm trying to see if I have, oh, I do have one. Let me grab it. It's a large one, but I'll put it up here in front of the camera anyway. So all these edges out here, this is what I called dry brushing, where I lay my brush down. The brush is damp, it has a little bit of paint in it. I touch the edge and I flick it, and I let whatever comes off of the brush just come off, and that's what I call dry brushing. And then, you know, the other is dry rubbing. So you use whatever technique that you like. Find the way that you like to do it best, whether with a dry brush or a damp brush. Some things will require you to use a dry brush if you want to get a specific look. You can do it with a damp brush, but it doesn't give quite the same effect. So that is my interpretation of dry brushing, which I used on this one with a dry brush, or no, that's dry rubbing. I'm sorry, I just got you confused. This is dry rubbing because I rubbed it on. I rubbed it, kind of scrubbed it on, okay? I've got you all confused now because I've got myself confused. And then this is dry brushing, where I use a damp brush and let it skim across things, and whatever paint comes off the brush comes off. Okay, I hope I did not totally confuse you, but dry brushing, dry rubbing. Dry rubbing, dry brush, dry brushing, damp brush. There we go, okay. But if you know it another way, go with that, okay.